You do matter. The people around you, they wouldn't have hired you or included you on their team if they didn't already see something in you.
Yes.
And they appreciate you, and you do matter. But all the different personality types, they may not know how to bring out the best in you. And sometimes you have to be self-aware enough to communicate that in a good, respectful way. And it's okay to do that.
Welcome to Dental Hygiene Development. We invite you to listen along as we discuss all things dental, including personal and professional growth. I'm Autumn.
And I'm Paige. We're just two best friends discussing what we love to do and how we do it. Grab your Diet Coke, Diet Dr. Pepper, or your favorite glass of wine, and let's talk about anything dental hygiene. Hey guys, it's Autumn and Paige here.
Hey guys.
Dental Hygiene Development coming at you live on our podcast. Well, we're not live, but
Sure we are.
pre-recorded.
Pre-recorded live.
We're live in person.
That's
here.
right.
Yeah.
Live in person.
It's us. Thanks for tuning in this week. We are kind of mixing our podcasts from last time with this one. So we hope you've kind of come back to give us a little bit more of your time.
That being said, if you haven't listened to the March 1st episode, we would
Yes.
suggest before you listen to this one, you probably want to go back and listen to that one.
Yes, it's all about Enneagrams.
Content.
Yep. So if you don't know what that is, you need to go watch the last podcast. But this one today is going to be titled, Yes, You Matter.
You matter.
And we're basically teaching you how to respectfully use your voice in your office setting or in your career. And we tie that into developing yourself enough by using your Enneagram type or temperaments, which we're going to talk about next time, in using the healthy side of your personality to voice what you need. And for some of us, that comes very natural, and for some of us, it does not. So we thought it was very important to talk about because it helps you get into a place where you are way less frustrated in your work setting. And I feel like a lot of people these days feel frustrated and unheard at work. So we wanted to say, yes, you matter. You can use your voice and not be frustrated at work.
And for those of us who already know how to use our voice,
Yes.
the word respectfully
Yes.
is what we're going to be working on,
Very
because
important.
I would say that I have always known how to use my voice.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it didn't come out respectfully, so you don't get across what you want to everybody the right way. So
You shut people down, they don't listen. They stop listening because
Right.
it may not be respectful.
So we're all going to learn something.
Absolutely. Everybody can learn something. Before we dive in, though, we do want to ask you guys, we are trying to reach as many people as we can and help the stigma of the dental field to become more of a positive one and create more happiness and development in your careers. So we have to reach people to do that. So
Yes.
if you don't mind, like our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, subscribe,
Comment.
comment. There are so many ways that you can engage with us and also help us to grow. So if you like something that you've heard, feel free to share the video or the
Please.
podcast.
We would love for you to
We
share
would really appreciate it. We would love it. Usually in the description below the video, we'll have all the links to, social media, how you can listen to the podcast, because you can even listen to it on Spotify if you don't have time to watch the videos.
We're working on
YouTube.
Apple Podcasts. So
We're working on
hopefully,
Apple.
because I listen to most of my podcasts on Apple.
Yes.
So I would love for it to be able to, because I talk to Alexa every morning.
Coming soon, and we do want to say we appreciate you allowing us room to grow. We are finding our stride. Like, we're figuring out how we like our videos and like what thumbnails we like to use and all of that kind of production stuff. We're learning, and we're trying not to let the learning process hold us back. So we're just putting it out there the best we can, and as we grow, you can grow with us, but thank you for giving us grace in figuring all of that out.
And if you like something that we did differently from the first time, let us know.
Tell us.
Go
like,
back
hey,
to that
worked.
comment. Say, like, hey, I really like the way you did that one. We would love to
Absolutely.
hear what you think.
Yes. So we have a huge thank you to Chad, who does all of our production work and puts up with me and Autumn's crazy bloopers and ideas, and he's awesome.
Me on an everyday basis.
With working with us and feeling with us at Team Legacy Production. So shout out to him there. If you need any kind of video work at all, he's your man, and we should link his information below. So I'm going to add that in there. Yeah. And then one last way you can kind of keep up with us is through our email subscription list. We promise to be respectful of your information. We are not going to spam you crappy stuff you don't want to see every
We will not share our email list to anybody.
We're not going to share it with anybody, but it will be a way where we put out like a newsletter that has a like recap of the podcast, you know, different books that we may talk about or resources. And then also if we wind up, we will be launching our continuing education courses. Hopefully within this year. We're still in the filming process. And then we are going to try to get those accredited. So you get credits for your CEs for renewing your license and all that kind of stuff. All of that coming in the future. But it will be how we communicate with everybody
and give you that stuff.
Who's a part of dental hygiene development. It will be one way that we communicate. Also, we want to be able to do some giveaways with like companies and reps with like instruments and all that kind of stuff. So once we get that implemented, that's how we will let you know about the giveaways and stuff. So there is a link below where you can privately put in your email, and we will be the only ones that have it, and we can communicate with you. So if you like communication that way, sign up, put your information in, and we promise to be respectful and only send you the good stuff.
Yeah, and if you are one of those companies that that are listening to this and you are a rep for one of the companies that we would use, reach out to us too, because we want to use you. We want you to be able to use our platform to be able to distribute those things to all of our listeners. We want to work together.
Our email is listed below, so you can shoot us an email. And also you can comment like, hey, reach out to me, however you want to do it. You can get in touch with us.
Yep. So get in touch.
Yeah. With all that said, thank you very much for your support. We appreciate you guys. We couldn't do this without you. And we have lots of good things coming in the future. So stay tuned. So to continue diving into this recap, last week we went through the 9 Enneagram types, which are your personality types, and those are just ingrained in you. They will not change. You are who you are, and
they're all good.
They're all good, and
all normal.
We did kind of touch on this a little bit as far as like how to address certain types in meetings. We kind of hit that at the very end of like. My personality type, I would prefer a one-on-one meeting, and I'm going to need some time to process my feelings as a type 2. I'm all about the feelings. I need time to process my feelings. I'm not going to necessarily give you my best answer on the spot. So give me some time to think about it. That's a way to know, as I can use my voice and say, if my leader is not giving me that, I can say, hey, I have a lot of feelings about this, and I 100% heard what you had to say. Can I have some time to process this, and we revisit it on Monday or tomorrow or whatever? That is going to be how I can give the best response. But I'm also communicating with my leader. They know that I took that in, but I just need a minute. And every personality type is going to have a way that they prefer, and it will be their best way to thrive in that environment where they felt heard. It just works better for everyone involved. So we want you to know that's one of the main things. Yes, you matter. What you need matters. And really, when you become healthy in your type and communicating that with those around you, it's better for everyone. It's how you can respectfully thrive at work. You can turn frustration into something that is positive, and that's what we want you to be able to do. Do not hold in. You're like, okay, I know, figure out what you need first. Because if you don't know your personality type and you haven't developed yourself enough to know what you need, you're just frustrated all the time and you feel like you're unheard. This is a great place to start to become self-aware and to ask for things that you need. It's okay to do that, and it really helps everyone involved because people can feel it when you're unhappy and you're frustrated and you...
It's not productive at all.
Nope.
It's doing the opposite. So if you we could change our frustration into productivity.
Absolutely.
Think about how much we're going to, like, one, we're going to all be happy at work, working with one another, and we're going to get a lot done.
Absolutely.
So that's going to benefit our patients. That's going to benefit the team.
The bottom line.
It's going to that bottom line is going to...
Your boss will love that.
Yes, your boss will love it. Those type 5s are absolutely going to love the fact that bottom line's changing and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Loving the numbers.
Exactly. So we all matter.
Yes.
It doesn't matter the type you are. There's no bad type. I mean, there's unhealthy in all the types.
Every type.
But like Paige was saying, if once you first you got to find what you are, and you got to dig into that and become self-aware. And then once you find that, then you can start really using that knowledge and that personal growth to better your team and better everybody else, and basically use your voice respectfully to get things done.
Yep, absolutely. And keyword here, I'm just going to reiterate it. You do matter. The people around you, they wouldn't have hired you or included you on their team if they didn't already see something in you. Yes. And they appreciate you, and you do matter. But all the different personality types, they may not know how to bring out the best in you. And sometimes you have to be self-aware enough to communicate that in a good, respectful way. And it's okay to do that. And so your mind is a powerful thing, and you can talk yourself into a lot of frustrations. And then this leads me into a really good analogy that I thought of the other day of like how it leads into self-awareness and your personal happiness at work. So if you think of having like 2 marbles, one marble is right here out of your reach. You cannot reach it. It doesn't matter how far you stretch. It's far enough away, you cannot reach it. That's another person in your office, okay? And then you have a marble right here that you can reach. You can move it around, you can roll it around, you can do all the things. That's you. Are you going to continue to try to reach this marble that's out of your reach? There's nothing you can do, you can't reach it. That's dwelling on things that are out of your control. It's useless. It's not going to happen. You're not going to move that marble. So why would you waste your time here? This is the frustration lane, which a lot of people, I've been there, you stay there. And you dig that hole down, and the next thing you know, you're miserable. And you don't know, you feel like you can't talk about the things, you can't do anything about them. It is how it is. I'm just going to have to deal with it or move on. A lot of people are in this lane. And it's hard to get yourself out of that. You're frustrated about these things, and you're like, I don't know how to change my frustrations. How you change those frustrations is you grab onto this marble, the you marble.
Yep.
Because you are the only thing that you can control. And if you're in this frustration lane, you're focusing on other people and things that they're doing that bother you, or things that they're doing that you would do differently. And you can't necessarily change that directly. But if you come over here back to your marble, guess what? If you throw your marble, right, you're healthy, good marble, you've taken your time, you've become self-aware, you've self-development, you're growing, you're becoming the best person you can be. You are not focusing on all the things about them. You're focusing on you, because guess what? You are probably frustrating them. You're probably doing things that bug them. And guess what?
So much.
We're all different personality types, and it's going to happen. But when you become healthy, maybe you can roll your marble, and you might smack into their marble, and then they may grow. Now, don't get me wrong, you might roll your marble and totally miss. They just might be who they are, and they aren't ready to grow or develop or whatever. And that's on them. But you continue to grow yourself. And what's going to happen is the change in yourself is going to help you feel more heard, more respected, and you as a person are going to understand the people around you more. And the more you understand their intentions and where they're coming from and how they're thinking and how they're feeling, it's going to reduce your frustration, because you're going to understand why they are the way they are or what they're doing. And when you can communicate and understand yourself enough to communicate how you are and what you need and how you're feeling and what you're doing within your team, you're going to feel a lot less frustrated.
Let me give a little note for these 8s, because I had to learn this the hard way. Because you're talking straight you're talking to everybody, but as an 8, you want to control everything, right? Yep. You can't control this person, and it is making you straight up crazy trying to control that person. So until you learn to control yourself, which has been the biggest thing that I've had to do, you have to learn to control yourself.
Yep.
That's how you make impacts on other people. So for those 8s that haven't quite got a hold to this yet, please get a hold to this, because it is going to give you so much inner peace, knowing that you cannot, no matter what you do, cannot control somebody else.
Yeah, and you cannot change their personality type.
No, you can't.
They are different, and that's okay. It's hard. It's so hard. Even as a feeler, I can't understand how somebody can't feel all these things for everyone, but they just don't. That's just not how they are. That's not their, like we talked about, that's not their happy place. That's not where they thrive. And you need a good mix of people. It encourages growth when you have lots of different people contributing in their healthy, good ways. So I think it is super important to this that, you know, I feel like, again, we talked about this a little bit with my personality type. People told me my whole life, you're so sensitive and, you know, you don't need to be so sensitive. And so I started looking at myself negatively. And so that reduced my own confidence in my own voice and in the positivity of my type. And so then I just felt like, well, I'm just too sensitive, you know, and I would be frustrated and I didn't know how to look at myself in a positive way. And honestly, I feel like a lot of this comes back to yourself. Like, you've got
Every
to build
bit of it.
You've got to build yourself, and that's really the only thing you have full control of. But a lot of the times, if you are in a good place, like, your energy, people want to be around you. They want to know, like, what did you do? Like, they'll see the changes in you. And a lot of people, good people, there are people who don't give a rat's butt about anything, and they just are who they are, and they probably shouldn't be in your office setting.
Right.
They're not a good teammate.
They shouldn't be on your bus.
But the majority of people they are there. They want to do a good job. Like, they are interested, and they may just be a different way. So,
but you can't help somebody else unless you help yourself first.
Exactly.
It's kind of like when you go on an airplane and they tell you that you have to put your mask on you first. If something happens before you go helping somebody else. Yeah. You can't help somebody else grow if you are in an unhealthy place.
Another good analogy people use is like, if your cup is empty, you can't pour into someone else's cup.
Nope.
Like, you could be dying of thirst over here. I ain't got no water. I can't help you. So I have to feed myself. I have to become confident. I have to become healthy. I have to know myself well, and learn to control the negative aspects of my own personality before I can even remotely start to figure out the things that are challenging me and how to deal with them. Right. So it's not that in your office setting you don't matter, because you're there. You're already there. You're on the team, so you do matter.
Everybody on the team matters.
Already been given value. You have to know that within yourself.
Yes.
And then you have to be able to say, hey, that's cool. Like, this is what I'm good at. And use your voice and respectfully tell people as a person, you know, your boundaries and what you need to be the best team player. That's what they want. They want you to thrive. They want you to be happy, you know, for the most part. There are exceptions to all these rules, but it helps. They don't know what they don't know, and I'm bad about that. Like, I get in my feelings, and I'm like thinking all these things and wish that I could say this or that or whatever, but that person on the other side of that, they don't know any of that stuff unless you voice it. So I feel like a good way is to sit down and say, hey, I've had some really good thoughts, and I would really love to sit down and share those with you and see if you feel like any of those things would be something we could implement in the office. And I always like to tell people a good, respectful way to use your voice is, if you see something that's an issue, never just complain about it. Don't just complain about it and be like, this is a problem. You need to go in there and have a solution to your problem.
Yes.
Don't focus on the problem. Bring
Nobody
it up.
likes a negative Nelly.
No. And a lot of people just like to complain. They don't really want to fix anything. They're just complainers. If you're a complainer, you need to work on that. That's unhealthy. But, you know, go in there with a solution. Bring up the problem. Be like, hey, I've noticed this is an issue, and it's something that I think that we could work on in the office, and it would really contribute to X, Y, and Z. And I feel like a really good way that we could do that is by doing X, Y, and Z. And then you work on, you know, you've already got a plan to implement it, and say, like, what do you think about that? Have you noticed that? I feel like it'll really help the team dynamic. Blah, 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 blah. Even if you have a fun idea, you know, say, like, I've been noticing lately or feeling like we're a little disconnected as a team and maybe just a little worn out because it's maybe been the busy season, like Christmas time in every dental office, or it's summer when the kids are out of school and everybody wants to get everybody in. End of the year, like I said, Christmas. everybody's trying to use their insurance benefits, so our schedules are swamped. Love on your dental teams if you're not a dental person around the holidays, because we're working our tails off. But it's fine to say that if you're feeling that way, and there's probably other people in the office that feel that way. So it's okay to express that. And if you do express it, you're going to feel so much better. Get it out. And so I'm really bad at that, honestly, as a feeler. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or make somebody feel like, if they're my management person, that they're not doing a good job supporting me. And so I feel this way. Like, I don't want them to feel attacked or like they're not doing a good job. And so a lot of times I don't express that. But it's helpful for them to know that. As a manager, they cannot help you if they don't know. So it's okay for you to say, hey, I'm feeling a little drained lately. We've been working really hard. I feel like we've been doing a really great job. And I saw this really fun thing. I think it'd be really awesome to do as a team and kind of re-energize us. Like, how do you feel about us going to do this? Whether it's like a paint night or a wine night or like a little shopping trip or like go to a movie, anything.
Outside of the office.
Something fun that will be re-energizing. I think it's great to communicate that. Because if you're just walking around with a bad attitude, what do you think that's doing? What do you think your manager's thinking then?
Yeah, it's just bringing the team down.
It's negative.
And kind of how we talked about on the last podcast, like, one of the things that you can do to create this type of synergy in the team is going to the leadership in your office and asking to do the Enneagram test, to do any of the personality tests, the temperaments test, Enneagram test. And so you all learn, and you don't have to be like super knowledgeable in it, and you don't have to be, a coach of an Enneagram. Mm-hmm. You can just simply know your type, and then you all come to a morning huddle, like say, why don't you all go home tonight and take this free assessment, and everybody finds out what they're like, and then you learn about yourself.
Yep.
And then you bring it to the team, and then you learn about your team. Yep. So then you know who's good at what.
Yep.
You know who you can talk to about what. Like the 9s, they're also feelers, but they want to avoid conflict at all costs. So they're going to hold it all in. If they have a feeling, they're not going to want to use their voice because they're going to afraid that it's going to cause an uproar.
Yep.
One, we want to empower those 9s to be able to say, you should be able to speak respectfully and everybody in your office listen to you.
Yep.
But if you are really just that person who does not feel comfortable talking to the leader, maybe your leader is in a bad position or not the right person, but if you feel like if you know your coworker, say, is an 8, you could go to that 8 and be like, hey, I'm really feeling this way. Could you help me in doing that? And because, let me just point this out, the 8 not only is okay with stepping up and talking, they also like to feel like they want to protect, they're in control, and they also want to protect the people that are around them.
Absolutely.
So one of them coming to me and saying, hey, Autumn, I could really use your help talking to so-and-so about it.
That lights you up.
That lights me up. I'm like, oh, heck yeah, we're about to go talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I would say not to do that with unhealthy 8 because that could get you in trouble more than help you. But if you're all working in health, then you can help each other.
Right.
So you can use your voice, and you can use it through other people, too.
Yep. And even, like, say you were the manager. You knew that I was a 2, and you had a 9. A 2 and a 9 are a really good way. Like, a 2 is a feeler, and we want a meaningful task. So it will be a great thing for you to send us to talk to the 9. Because we're going to be soft. We're going to be soft. Mm-hmm. We really care about how they're feeling. And they're the person who has a really hard time expressing their feelings. But 2s are really intuitive as far as how people are feeling. And I don't know what it is. Like, strangers come up to me and they would just, like, tell me everything. It's like I'm vibing like I'm a safe space. Like, tell me all your feelings, and I'm really engaged. So, that's a good combination. Mm-hmm. So if you're having a hard time with somebody in your office as a leader, and oh, I've got a 2 over here, and that works with the 9, I want to really engage with this person. Well, go ask the person who's a 2. Be like, I've been noticing this with her and or him, and I really, want to help them out. Like, do you mind going and seeing how they're feeling about things? Just stuff like that. Being able to be intuitive.
Or the other way around, because sometimes if you're not an 8, if you're an 8 and you're and you know that you have a hard time saying things respectfully, I could go to Paige at 2 and you okay. So if you're run it by them to say, how is this going to come off? Is this going to come off bad? Especially if your leader is not an 8 and you're trying to get things done. The person that you're wanting to discuss things with is not an 8, then go run it by somebody else and say, this is my gut feeling, right? So this is how it's gonna come out. You tell me if there's something that I need to say that's going to come off a little bit better to this person, because they might not get it that way.
Yep.
So ask for help both ways.
Yep.
And if a 2 is also feeling like they're in there feeling like you said before, you ask other people, am I being too sensitive? Yep. And they can tell you if you're being too sensitive and feeling it too hard. So, like, you
gotta accept it, though. As a 2, if you ask somebody, don't get your feelings hurt.
True. Yes.
When they say, yeah, you're being a little sensitive about that, take it in and be like, all right, cool. Like, I can let that go and be a little tender.
Good,
like,
I know.
Move on. You know, that's the difference in the healthy and the unhealthy. And I think that's a great thing. Like, there are different assets in your office. Use them. They're all strengths, and they're maybe not your strength, but someone else's strength. So rely on their strength to become yours. Like, it's a really beautiful thing when you do start to accept that stuff and bring it in, and I think grow off of each other. Like, I think it's very powerful versus like having a competitive feeling in the office of like, you've got to be all these things you aren't. I feel like that's exhausting. And
oh gosh, yes, that's super exhausting.
It's very exhausting.
And if you're the leader to that point, then you being aware of what the different personality types in your office is only going to help you lead them better. And like we were saying, it's an easier way for you to understand. If you want, like if you're in a meeting and you're sitting there and you're asking for opinions and what needs to be done, and say a 9 or a 2 or even a 5 doesn't say right away what they're thinking, you may be thinking, well, dang, they're really disengaged and they didn't care. Whereas, and it's not that they don't care.
They care a lot.
They care a lot, and they're sitting back and thinking about it. And even though they didn't tell you what they were thinking right away, give them time to come back.
Circle back to
them and let them know at the end of the meeting and be like, hey, I know a lot of you are thinking about this over, and I appreciate that. You know, how about in the next couple of days, come let me know how you think. Whereas me, I'm the 8. So I'm the person who's sitting in that meeting going, yeah, I have a gut feeling about it. This is how I feel about it right now, and I'm going to get it out this way. And then I'm not going to think about it again. So the rest of you who are thinking about this when you go home, great, but I'm not going to be.
Yep.
So you have to know those things, and don't just write off somebody who is not talking in a meeting and those things to be lazy or to not care, because they care. They just are thinking about it a different way. They're going to put it out in a different way. So as a leader, you have to be respectful of that too. So you're using your voice to lead other people, but in a respectful way, because you want to respect their personality types and how they run and how they do things.
And you tend to only be able to see your own type. So like if you're an 8 and there's someone in the meeting who's an 8 and they're spitting out all the information or whatever, you're going to respond to that well. And to the others, it's going to feel negative to you. Like you said, like they don't care, but they care a lot. And on the flip side of that, if you're a 2 and you have all these feelings, somebody that's just like shooting ideas off the top of their head, it could come off as like, well, they haven't even thought about this. They're just trying to like, you know, say a bunch of things to like get this over with or whatever. Like, you can always look at something negatively. And a lot of the times it's easier to do that when you're just stuck in your own perspective. It's almost a little bit selfish, like you're too into yourself. So as a leader, I think that is super important, how to make people feel like they matter. And there is a respectful way to like be aware of that in everybody in your office. So just be aware that you're not stuck in yourself a little bit too much when you're in a leadership position, for sure.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be afraid to ask for those things.
Absolutely.
If you are not the leader, don't be afraid to ask that leader for what you need. Yeah. You have to, like we were saying, all this is about respecting the other person. So if you come to them and say, hey, I do care. I have a lot of opinions, but as I'm just thinking through this, so give them a deadline. Say, I'm going to be thinking about this, but I will be with you by the end of the week or by end of business day tomorrow. I'm going to come and talk to you about it. So they know that you care, but that you're just can't give them that information right now.
It. Well, see, even as as a feeling person, like I'm visual and creative. So like my mind goes through so much stuff. So sometimes in the very moment, I'm trying to express something, but I can't get all the words together appropriately to express it right. So I might be trying to tell you something, but what's coming out of my mouth is not telling you what I'm trying to express to you. And I've gotten in trouble a lot with that. Not a lot, but it has gotten me into situations where I'm like, that is not what I mean to say. It's just not coming out with the right words. And so that's where it's like, I need time to get all of those feeling words together and be like, okay, this is the actual emotion I'm trying to convey, and these are the words I need to use to do it. And sometimes I even have to write it down because there's so much happening with all the feelings and stuff. I need to write it down and sort it out and come up with like, okay, this is good. And I'm going to have to revisit it several times and think it a lot. So it's very intriguing when you start diving into it and really figuring it out.
Yeah, and as an 8 or any of the gut triad, so if you are one of those people who immediately have an opinion and want to put it out there, especially 8s, I know, we have it, we're going to say right away, but it might not be the best thing for you to say right away, especially if you're passionate about it, because that's something that I've had to learn to control, because I immediately say something. And especially like if your leader or somebody else is not an 8, what you're going to say is probably going to come out harsh to them.
Yeah.
So even if you say it, I would say that as an 8, I'm not going to think, I don't want to, it'd stress me out to think about it long term, multiple days. But I would say before you you say something or you want to voice your opinion, and you should at least think about what you're going to say first.
Yeah.
Like
that's a good general rule.
Yeah, like you should step back, take a breather, especially if you're passionate about it. What I try to do is if it happens before lunch, take the lunchtime. I like to go outside, take a break, walk, and think about it.
Yeah, calm down.
And then don't wait until the next day, because most of the time if I'm passionate about it and I wait till the next day, I just got more frustrated. But if I go take a quick breather, clear my head, have time to compose what I'm going to say respectfully, then I can come back in and talk about it immediately. If it happens at the end of the day, then I might do it the next day. But give a short amount of time for the gut people. I know the people who are thinking with their heart and their head need a little more time. But our gut thinkers, we don't necessarily need more time. But you should take some time, I would say. So don't spurt it out because you might hurt somebody's feelings. And you can't come back from that. I mean, you can apologize, but some things you say are too harsh or are going to make you come off looking bad. So step back, at least take an hour, like give it some time before you go make a statement and then do it.
And I also think so some people have really strong personalities and they're communicative and they're talkative. They have a lot of ideas right off the bat. And then you've got that other side of people who are like soft and they're not going to just speak up very naturally. And sometimes when you have those stronger personalities, you've got to make room for those softer people, because you can have a tendency unwillingly to kind of just like override them. You're going to speak for them. They're never going to speak up. So sometimes I feel like it's a great idea if you've got a really good combination. If you're one of those strong 8s, don't say anything till you give the space in the beginning, like, to let other people talk. Now, they still may not say a lot of stuff and need to come back to it, but if you're the leader, be like, ask those softer people, like, do you have any thoughts on that yet? Just give them a minute to acknowledge that you want to hear what they think. And then say, and then give them the time to do it. And then as a strong leader, maybe say if you have an hour meeting, you talk the last 30 minutes, instead of just jumping off the bat, because then those softer personalities are just, they're going to let you roll. They're going to let you go with it, you know? I'm like, that would be me. I'm like, oh, yeah. And there might be things that you would say that I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. That's cool, you know? But then I'm not going to come up with, you know, original thoughts or whatever. Like, so you have to kind of think about things like that. Figure out what works. I'm not saying that always works, but it's just something to think about of, like, timing and, you know, if you do it by the end of the day or if you're going to give them a few days or whatever. And I think that's an individual thing, too. Even throughout different 8s might have different ideas, and it's okay to tell people that's what you need. Like, hey, can I take lunch to think about this? I'll talk to you by the end of the day. Or if you like to have a couple of days, be like, hey, can we visit this on Monday? Or if you're the type of person like you don't want no time, you got to get it off your chest now, be like, hey, can we talk about this? So
I think if you're being respectful, one of the things that when Chad and I were doing our marriage counseling, our pastor asked us both how we handled conflict and how we like to get things out. Of course, no, you know, I'm an 8, so I like to get it out right away. I don't like to go to bed. I don't like to go to work the next day thinking about something that might have happened at home or vice versa. Whereas Chad, he doesn't want to speak too soon because he's thinking about it more from a feeling standpoint and he's got to process those things. So the way that our pastor gave us a tip to deal with that is to know that just because I need to be respectful of Chad that he needs that time.
Yep.
However, he needs to be respectful of me in the fact that I don't want to wait. So that person who needs longer, just be able to speak to the other and say, hey, I hear what you're saying, and I do want to talk about it, but I can't talk about it right now. I need that time to process. But give them a deadline that you're going to talk to them about it.
Right.
So that, like, I need a deadline. Lingering. It's not lingering. So I know that tomorrow at 1 o'clock or when we're having dinner or in morning huddle or whatever that relationship you're working with is, that's when we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I can put it off my brain. I'm not wondering when you're going to talk about it, not getting frustrated that we're not talking about it. I know I have the details and that they're going to come back. Yep. Now, you have to honor that. So if you give somebody your word this morning, talk about it, you need to honor that no matter how frustrated you are. But if we all know that that's how they work, don't be afraid to say, hey, I need this time.
Yep.
And this is when we're going to talk about it. And on the opposite side, I have to be respectful knowing they need it and have to say, okay, I appreciate that that's the way you are, and let's meet back here at this time.
Yeah.
So you have to come at it from both ways.
Yep.
And we have to be respectful of one another. I know Paige and I are both we talk a lot about our faith base. And, like, God made us all different for a reason.
Yep.
And we have to be comfortable in who he made us first. And if we are confident in who we are and how he made us, then we can better treat other people the way that they are made and appreciate that. And this is weird because it has nothing to do with God or this, but in my head when we're talking about this, what comes to mind is Miranda Lambert's song, All Kinds of Kinds.
Yeah.
And it's a really weird song, to be honest with you. Maybe we'll play it in the background, like in the beginning or whatever, or we'll link it so you can kind of hear the words. The words are kind of crazy, but it basically it takes all kinds of kinds to run. Yeah. To run a business, to have a relationship, for our world, just in general, for our world to run. Yep. And we have to be respectful of all of those people and what they need and what they say, because God made us that way and they matter. Yep. You matter, I matter, what we have to say matters, and how we say it matters.
Yeah. And see, you just gave me a good thought of, like, I feel like any good teammate or person or leader, it really comes down to being humble enough to know that as a leader, like, yes, you're at the, think of yourself at, like, the top of the pyramid and there are people under you, but it doesn't work unless those people underneath you are happy and working. And, like, being humble enough to know that it is a team effort. You might be guiding the ship, but you're literally helping people be their best selves. Yes. So that you are a good leader. You're not there to, like, just bark rules and dictate and not let people thrive. You're humble enough to know that everyone is different and you're going to have to handle people differently. It's your job as a leader to allow them to be themselves and thrive, not just tell them what to do or how to be or whatever. And I think you do that a lot through your actions and how you treat them and the decisions that you make for them, for them. And when I say for them, I mean like in their best interest. I feel like a lot of people in a leadership role feel like it is about like you're making all the decisions and everything's on your shoulders and you're the big dog and all that stuff. But I feel like the most effective leaders are the ones who are humble enough to know that they need their people and they're leading by helping those people be their best selves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's super
and that kind of
important.
ties back into the leadership podcast that Victoria and I talked about don't ask your people to do anything that you wouldn't do.
Absolutely.
Leading by example. If you come off and you speak to them respectfully and show them that they matter, if you treat them the right way, they will treat the patients the right way. They'll treat others the right way, and we will get through it. So all this comes back to you matter, and every person that you work with matters, and knowing yourself, making yourself self-aware, being aware of not, like we said at the beginning, know yourself first. You cannot change others. And you can't even begin to try to help change others if you're not healthy yourself. And then when you are, then you can try to help other people, but doing it in a respectful way.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is a lot to digest at this point.
A lot of it is a lot to digest, right?
Absolutely. And it's hard work. It's hard work, but it's worth it. So if you are feeling frustrated and you have some of this stuff going on in your lives, try to step aside from the frustration and know that these things will help resolve that issue. A lot of times it feels hopeless when you're frustrated and you don't know where to go. We're telling you, start here. Get to know yourself. Dig into this self-development, and you'll notice a huge change.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's all we have for today.
We're going to come back in April, and we're going to talk a little bit about temperaments, which is a little different than personality types. It's something I'm super excited about talking about
really
too.
Cool.
So we're going to dive a little bit more into that self-awareness. And again, let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment.
All the things.
Share. Talk to us. We love communicating with you. Tell us what you need. If you said, hey, I really like that. I think we could talk a little bit more about this or that. What you want to hear, we want to talk about.
That's right.
Bring it up. Let us talk about it. If you are somebody who's passionate about what you do, one of the things in GDHA we're talking about now is that everybody is a master of some sort in what you do. Like, you have a passion about this, so this is what you're really good about talking about. If you have something that you're really passionate about, and it could be you come up here, not to say we could have another co-host. I know Victoria was here because Paige wasn't, but that doesn't mean we don't want you to talk about it.
We want to have guests on and like have new perspectives and all that kind of stuff. So
if you got something,
let us know.
We're open to it.
You could be sitting right here and we just
that's right.
let you roll.
Exactly. We want to hear from you because I think Paige and I both, you can tell from this, we want to grow. And we want you to grow. So you never stop learning. So even though we're pretty self-aware, we're constantly learning about being more self-aware, but we want to learn about other people too.
We're not just telling you to do this stuff. We're doing this stuff.
Absolutely.
We're noticing the differences it's making in our lives because we ain't perfect. We've all been there. We can speak to this stuff because I've been unhealthy too. And so yes, we see the benefits from this in our own personal lives and our own personal careers, and so that's why we share it. So
exactly, we want to share with you, so we want you to share with us.
And we don't know it all, so we need your help too.
No, we don't. Absolutely. So thank you again for joining with us. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Bye.